didn't know is there going to be an announcement, but since I know almost every single person here in this room, right, we just want to jump in. This is such an exciting day for us, so thank you for joining us. It was 2010, the last time, that the Attorney General was swearing in a director. So for the three people who I don't know here, I'm Allison Randall. I'm the Principal Deputy Director at OVW, and it has been the honor of my life, really my wildest dream as a longtime advocate to serve as OVW's acting director for more than 2 years under the leadership of an exceptional Attorney General, Merrick Garland. Attorney General Garland cares deeply and personally about ending domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking. He's prioritized reducing gender-based violence, and he has supported our office and our people. And even though he broke my heart when he told me that he doesn't like cats and that I should not send him cat memes, despite that, there's no bad blood. I'm truly excited every time I get to see him because, he knows all too well that to create change, you need to invest in your people, and you need brilliant, dedicated leaders like Rosie Hidalgo. And Attorney General Garland inspires us at OVW to remain fearless in our pursuit of justice and to never lose hope. His steady leadership helps us shake off challenges and calm down even when problems feel insurmountable. The process of reauthorizing VAWA was intense. The summer of 2021 you could even describe as cruel. But thanks to his leadership, the department stood together with all of you in this room, stood together with survivors, and we prevailed. And that's because the Attorney General always keeps the end game in sight: justice, safety, peace. Overall, his dedication to the rule of law has helped us stay true to our principles. And when I hear him speak, I am inspired to begin again in this work. So today we are exceptionally grateful, forever and always, that when he saw a blank space at OVW, he wrote Rosie Hidalgo's name. So please join me in welcoming the nation's leading Taylor Swift fan and Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland.
Thank you, Allison, and in light of all those Easter eggs, I want to thank you for ushering OVW into its New Eras tour. It's my great honor to welcome everyone to the investiture of Rosie Hidalgo as a director of the Office on Violence Against Women. As the first Senate-confirmed director of OVW in 11 years, and the first Latina to lead that office ever, Rosie is making and shaping history. As director, Rosie leads OVW's mission to provide federal leadership in developing our nation's capacity to reduce violence against women. OVW's important work also strengthens services for survivors of domestic violence, dating violence, and sexual assault. Rosie arrives well prepared for this work. She has spent over 25 years as a champion for reducing gender-based violence and supporting survivors. Her experience includes serving as a public interest attorney, a national policy advocate, and on the White House Gender Policy Council. And like many of us in DOJ leadership, this is not her first rodeo. She previously served in the Justice Department as Deputy Director of Policy in OVW. Rosie's experience comes from a deep dedication to affirming the dignity of survivors and protecting women and girls. Thank you, Rosie, for coming back and for joining the extraordinary professionals who make up the staff at OVW. The mission of this Justice Department is to uphold the rule of law, to keep our country safe, and to protect civil rights. For too long, women and girls have suffered due to domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. As the Justice Department works urgently to reduce violent crime of all kinds, we recognize that addressing gender-based and domestic violence must be central to our work. We must provide support to and gain the trust of survivors, and we must hold accountable those who perpetrate these crimes. Each year, the dedicated staff of OVW administers more than 20 grant programs and $700 million in funding. These resources enable and empower victim services, criminal justice systems, and so many other critical programs. OVW coordinates between federal, state, tribal, and local authorities, and it provides assistance and expertise to law enforcement, medical professionals, and others who encounter victims of gender-based violence. In doing so, OVW's staff has built a strong relationship with advocates and community leaders and has earned the trust of survivors and those who fight on their behalf. OVW staff has also been tasked with helping to lead our country's response to increases in domestic violence associated with the pandemic. I'm grateful to Allison for her incredible leadership of OVW. Thank you for stepping up to lead the office and for your continued contributions as a leader for the department, and thank you for the Easter eggs. Before I invite Rosie and her daughter to join me for her oath of office, I want to thank her family and friends who are here today and those who are watching on the live stream. Your encouragement and support help make Rosie's service in this important role possible, and we are all grateful to you, especially me. I also want to recognize someone who is not here today. Rosie, I understand that your late brother, Patrick, shared your commitment to public service. Although I did not have the honor of knowing him, I know he would be so proud of you. His legacy lives on in the work you do and the people you help. Now, Director Hidalgo, could you and your daughter, Christina, please join me for your swearing in? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Rosie Hidalgo,
I, Rosie Hidalgo,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter. So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you so very much. I am truly, truly honored and humbled to stand before you today to take this oath. And I thank you so much, Attorney General Merrick Garland, for your trust in me, for your words, your very kind words of leadership and encouragement, for all the support and for being a champion on this issue. Thank you also for bringing into this space my brother, Patrick Hidalgo, who inspired me to get into government service with his service, and I know his light and his love guide all our paths. So thank you. I also want to express gratitude for the leadership and commitment of our Deputy Attorney General, Lisa Monaco, of our Associate Attorney General, Vanita Gupta. I've already seen firsthand in these past few weeks their tremendous leadership and commitment to these goals of preventing and addressing all forms of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, sexual assault, trafficking, and other forms of gender-based violence, and to really advancing the mission of the Office on Violence Against Women. And as the Attorney General noted, I want to really just express deep gratitude to the amazing team at OVW. I'm so fortunate to work in a department and organization that is so mission-driven with so many dedicated staff really committed to this work. And so I feel really honored and humbled to be a part of and joining that team. And I'm grateful for my family, many of whom who are here today, for their love and support, knowing that they too make sacrifices. In fact, looking at Christina, just last week we were remembering when I was taking her to her college visit, flying into a winter storm in the Midwest to take her to college for a tour, and the VAWA 2013 vote was about to happen. And I'm like, oh, we can't go do this tour. I'm holed up in the hotel. And we're watching C-SPAN, and we're messaging staffers, and we're checking amendments. And I said, I'm sorry, Christine, I know we're here for your tour at Notre Dame, but this is just not right now. And she was like, that's all right, Mom, I'm all in. And she was monitoring with me. She was remembering the amazing quotes of some of the members of Congress as they took to the floor. And after that, I remember getting in the car, jamming some tunes as we drove you to college, to the campus tour. So our family's always with us. I know all of you who are advocates know this all too well, how our kids are such an integral part of this. And here she is 10 years later holding the Bible. So the young people in my life, my daughter Christina, my daughter Carolina, my son Patrick, and my son-in-law Reggie, they give me great hope. They give me great hope and inspiration for the next generation and so many other young people that I've met. And I know we're on the right path with the next generation. And finally and foremost, I want to thank all of you advocates, stakeholders, those who are survivors, also crucial to this work. We would not be here today but for the tremendous advocacy and just commitment at all costs with just such tremendous dedication for us to go forward. And I really also want to give gratitude to the shoulders, the mentors that I've had, those on whose shoulders we stand, who've gone before us, so that we can continue to advance these goals. And so I'm honored and humbled by this great responsibility for all of us together to continue to advance this. And it's amazing thinking that next year is actually going to be the 30th anniversary of VAWA, from the very first passage of the Violence Against Women Act in 1994 by our current president, Biden, then Senator Biden, who helped champion and author the original VAWA with the tremendous support of advocates and the collaboration and the voices of survivors whom he held hearings to hear from to really shape VAWA, and some of whom are in this room, some of the original advocates that worked on this. And so as we recognize that 30 years have passed since that first VAWA, we can really acknowledge so much progress that has been made. And yet I think we all know that there's still so much further to go. And how do we continue to refocus, to recommit ourselves to advancing these critical goals of our nation to prevent and address all forms of gender-based violence? And I think what's amazing every time VAWA is up for reauthorization, although all of us are like, oh my gosh, again, right? Because it does seem like, and I'm sure people already are gearing up for VAWA 2027, and I thank you. But no one ever says, okay, let's just do a straight re-auth, because it's always an opportunity where we're like, okay, so what's working well, and how do we enhance that, and how do we scale that up? And what maybe is not working as well, or where are there ongoing gaps and barriers, and how do we address that? And how do we make sure that all survivors, including centering the voices and lived experiences of survivors from historically marginalized and underserved communities, and across all different communities, how do we make sure that everyone can find pathways to safety, to healing, to justice? And that's our goal. And every time VAWA is up for reauthorization, we really harness our efforts and say it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And we have to continue to expand and address all these critical needs. And so I was excited to be able to work as part of the Biden-Harris administration in the reauthorization of VAWA 2022, and with so many amazing stakeholders out here, and as Allison noted, with the tremendous commitment and leadership of DOJ. And together with all of you, we're able to really continue to expand some critical provisions of VAWA and also with the support of bipartisan members of Congress, which is so crucial. This should always be bipartisan. And also the president requesting significant increases in his budget, and Congress, again, with bipartisan support, increasing under this administration by close to 30% the funding of VAWA so that those critical resources can reach communities. And so all of this is so crucial as we advance our nation's commitment and as we really elevate what's a hallmark of VAWA, which is the coordinated community response. What does that really mean? It's not a coordinated systems response, it's a coordinated community response. And I think we're all trying to continue to advance that goal. And I was fortunate just last week, my first official travel, to get to go to Oklahoma to participate in our nation's 18th annual tribal government-to-government consultation. And I see some of our amazing tribal advocates out here also. And just really recognizing and honoring what it means with that federal trust responsibility. What does it mean to honor sovereignty of tribal nations? What does it mean to come together and again, hear and center the voices of survivors, those with lived experiences, those on the front lines, on what's working well, and how are we implementing some critical provisions that were added to VAWA in 2013 and further expanded in 2022, and where are we falling short? And what does it mean to look at these issues holistically? They're complex issues, not just individual incidents of violence, but broader systemic issues, intergenerational issues of violence, historic trauma, many different aspects of this work that we really, like people's lives don't exist in silos, and we can't do this work in silos. And that's something when we gather together to listen, that really comes through loud and clear. And we started that visit with a visit to the Muskogee Creek Nation there in Oklahoma to meet with the tribal chief, with their attorney general, with their victim services center, and to really hear from them a lot of the innovation and the progress being made and how we can continue to support that and scale that up. And then at the end of last week, we ended visiting the U.S. Attorney there in Oklahoma City for the Western District and visiting a family justice center. And there too, got to see some significant advances they're making in their coordinated community response and got to listen to the stories of survivors of what a huge difference, especially with some cases of very high lethality at the intersection of domestic violence and firearms. And what's the commitment with the U.S. attorneys at the federal level, working with DAs at the state level, working with wraparound services of victim service providers, and learned that where they started their family justice center with 15 partners, they now have 42 partners, including many community-based organizations, those working with immigrants, with the Latino community, with the API community, with tribal communities, with those who are deaf or hard of hearing, with elder abuse, pulling everyone in with faith-based communities, really saying, how are we all a part of this? And some people may go to a family justice center, but they don't stay there. They also do mobile advocacy and strengthen other community partners, because we need many multiple pathways to safety, to justice, and to healing. So being there Friday and just seeing what a difference VAWA's making, what a difference these resources are making, what a difference all of you are making as we continue to advance these goals is really heartening, and how we continue to bring that forward. And that takes me just to a final thing that I want to lift up is under the Biden-Harris administration as well, that we came together to develop our nation's first ever U.S. national plan to end gender-based violence with strategies for action, because that's our federal coordinated community response. We recognize that while OVW has an important role to play, and not only OVW, many components of DOJ play a critical role, that we need to strengthen our interagency collaboration, but intra-agency as well, across agencies, because, and I'm looking at other wonderful federal partners, whether from the Department of Education or HHS or HUD or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. What does it mean for all of us to recognize that all our agencies play a critical role, not only in supporting survivors, but in preventing also these forms of harm? So when we launched the U.S. National Plan to End Gender-Based Violence that the President had called for in an executive order, we had 15 agencies represented, really lifting up those commitments. But we know it's not just the federal government. And so much gratitude to all who are also listening virtually, because this work is all of us. It's local communities, state level, federal level, tribal, territorial, but also at the community level, businesses, philanthropy. How do we all serve a critical role in ultimately preventing all these forms of harm and making sure there's no wrong door for anyone who experiences this abuse, that whether they go to a community health clinic or in their workplace or in the school setting, wherever they are, and if they reach out to friends and family, no matter who someone reaches out to, that they find the support, the love, the services to work towards that safety and healing and justice. But I think at the end of the day, as much as we want to improve the social services and the systems, we're not just about improving social services, we're about social transformation. And I think this work is so transformative. Thanks to all of you, thanks to the commitment we have of DOJ and across all our, really across this country. How do we work towards those goals of social transformation so everyone can thrive without any fear of violence, without any fear of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, trafficking? Together, we know that we can work towards those goals, and I look forward with great humility and with great honor to working with all of you and all who have joined us and continue to make that goal a reality. So thank you very much.
I didn't know that I got to make closing remarks because I have the most important closing remark ever, which is that there's cake. Thank you all again. Thank you so much, Attorney General. We are incredibly excited to embark on our new eras tour at OVW. Thank you, everyone.